Welcome into another edition of New Track Record Podcast. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you from the WELT studios as we get ready to talk all things IndyCar, and we'll focus on the Indy 500. Plus, we got plenty of interesting news nuggets this week, open test details, Rolex 24 this weekend, a lot of IndyCar names participating. We'll run down that full list again and more. But as we prepare for Snowmageddon 2026 here across Indiana and most of the Midwest to the East Coast to even some of the Mid-South, let's talk about the warmer weather, Memorial Day weekend, the Indianapolis 500, what we can expect. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney. Hello, Justin.
Hello, Mr. Hatch.
So I thought we'd have some fun since there wasn't really a big headline story this week in IndyCar. Let's talk about Indy 500 car count, one of everyone's favorite topics.
Yes, almost as good as international races.
And third OEM.
Yes, but we're heading into the weekend here where a mere 4 months from now we'll be prepping for the Indianapolis 500. However, this weekend, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway could be buried under as much as a foot of snow because unlike most storms that we get here, snowstorms, it's usually more to the north, right? Less to the south.
Yes.
It's the opposite here. So more to the south around Indianapolis and central Indiana and less up here in northern Indiana. So what a difference 4 months can make. We could go from a snow-laden speedway to hopefully sunshine and dry 4 months from now. And which cars, which drivers, how many cars will we have on the grid, or at least trying to qualify for the Indianapolis 500? Let's take a look.
So is this the year, I think the ultimate question, is this year we finally get over the hump and have more than 34 entries? And, you know, this is the most optimistic I've felt, and I think I feel that way every year. But I do feel optimistic. There is a chance we get to 35. I don't think we get to 36 based on where things stand out. So let's go with what's confirmed. So Ed Carpenter confirmed he will be back to attempt to qualify for his 23rd Indianapolis 500-mile race in May. That confirmed this week by Ed Carpenter Racing as they announced some leadership changes as well within their organization, debuted the cars, the race suits with a couple of changes as well. So ECR set for 2026. So Ed Carpenter, you add him in. He is the 31st confirmed 500 entry. Now we're counting the second Dale Coyne car.
We are
on this. Now, that's 17 Chevy entries. The second Brian Reinbold, which I would say is 99% certain, would make 18, which would make Chevy full in terms of the number of entries they will have. So that's where Chevy stands. Pretty simple as of now. We'll get to the scenario where it blows up. And then as of now, Honda has 14 cars confirmed, but we expect a fourth at Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing with Takuma Sato, a fourth at Andretti Global with potentially Colton Herta. It sounds like he wants to make it happen. Jenna Fryer of the AP had an article talking with Colton Herta in a factor I didn't think about. So Cadillac, obviously, is GM brand versus Andretti Global.
Could
and
be a
IndyCar
problem,
using
right?
Honda, so you're going to have to get manufacturer sign-off for that. But it sounds like if that can happen, then it's likely that Herta will be able to make it work for the 500. Obviously, depending on how things are going in F2 at the time and all that. But so fourth Rahal, fourth at Andretti. We expect those. And then one of the wild card ones is a third Coyne. Now, this could be a number of different drivers and partnerships. First thing you think of is Catherine Legge. Obviously interested in coming back. She tried to come back last year with Coyne, and it didn't work, and then she went to NASCAR and ran several races there. Obviously, she wants to be back for the Indy 500. That would be an obvious choice for them. But then you also have HMD Motorsports, so they want to step up, run the Indy 500. Could they partner with a Coyne, for example? Or Jacob Abel, who's switch to sports cars, I'm sure there's still a chance that they would be interested in running the Indy 500. I mean, now it doesn't sound like that's likely, but it doesn't seem like it's fully off the table.
No, and maybe it's not even Jacob Abel with Abel Motorsports. Could it be Abel Motorsports with Force Indy with Miles Rowe?
That's true.
Potentially. It's kind of a double-edged sword as we reach the end, finally, of this chassis, and you say, well, there's going to be a lot of chassis available, but also, do teams invest in chassis when they only need them for another year or two? I more feel like this would be the year that, now we know that Abel Motorsports has a chassis, right? HMD, I'm not entirely sure.
I don't think they do.
If they do. But if you're able, you're saying, well, we already have a chassis. In 2 years, it's going to be antiquated, and so we may as well try something this year and next year.
And remember, they still have those 4 cars in the series formerly known as Indy Lights, and we mentioned Miles Rowe, obviously with Abel Motorsports, so that is an obvious crossover there.
It is, and so you look at then HMD, and could they be interested in a partnership with an existing team, maybe to run one of those extra cars that you mentioned, or a new car, new partnership that potentially could be. We know that they worked with Coin to run David Malukas in 2022 and 2023. HMD did not, I do not believe, partner with anybody in 2024 or 2025. Could that change for 2026? So this is based on maybe potentials, nothing concrete, nothing even rumored, at least that we've heard, but just kind of trying to throw options out there, particularly for Abel Motorsports. And it's kind of a place of transition, right? Because it was very much a team with Bill Abel that was really built around Jacob Abel in a lot of ways. And now what's that commitment to reaching IndyCar now that Jacob Abel is out of the series? And I don't think we have an answer to that.
No. I mean, he said they tried to make IndyCar happen for this season. It didn't work out, but that season, that doesn't mean the Indy 500. Now, I would be surprised if that happens. And then, so that would put us, if all those entries come to fruition, including, a third at Coin or an extra Honda entry beyond the 4th at Rahal and Andretti, we're looking at 35. Cool. Well, then there's the nuclear option, and that's if Prima doesn't answer the bell for 2026. And then that opens up Chevy to having 2 entries not accounted for. And then you would say, what, a third at Foyt, potentially a third at Ryan Reinbold, a third at Juncos?
Maybe, but just because they're
4th
available.
At Penske?
Yeah, just because they're available doesn't mean that a team's going to do it. And so it has to make financial sense, and it has to make competitive sense. So if we're at 33 cars, let's say, for example, and is any existing team going to want to add a 34th, considering it's guaranteed to have all of its existing cars in the race? And we always hear that right around, are we going to end up competing with ourselves to make the grid type thing?
Like we've seen Rahal and Dale Coyne do off and on the past couple of years.
Exactly. So there's so many different scenarios. There's a max on how many engines. We know that, 18 apiece. But that doesn't mean we need to get to 18. Because if that was the edict, we'd have 36 year after year. We've had 34 for a couple years now. So just because they're available doesn't mean that teams are going to use them. And 2, the Chevy and Honda are of the opinion, considering they lose money every engine lease, saying we're not going to back a third car here or a single car effort here because we don't feel it has a chance and we're just losing money anyway. So there's so many different angles to this. If everything lined up, we'd have 36 and we'd all be thrilled to have 3 cars going home, an actual, not just bumping one car, but bumping multiple cars. But 4 months away, there's still so many things up in the air. And I think, once again, the first real domino. There you go. Domino to fall. I was thinking Lego to fall. The first domino to fall is going to be Prema.
Yes.
Because as we mentioned, it's going to be the end of this month. Maybe as soon as this time next week when we record, that we know for sure what's going on with Prema. Probably, maybe not likely next week, but definitely 2 weeks from now, we're going to have some clarity.
And the other thing that I find interesting this year, as of right now, Chevy has all 18 spots accounted for. Usually it's the opposite. Usually it's Honda that is pushing 18 and sometimes even going above and beyond in past years, but it's Chevy and it's Honda that has several open spots, which is the opposite of what we've been used to seeing the last few years, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a topsy-turvy thing here, and whether Honda wants to commit to a couple more, we'll see. It doesn't sound like we have that that potential entry that a OEM would be holding an engine lease for, but who knows for sure? There's still plenty of time. Just ask Dale Coyne to figure out what you want to do for the Indy 500, let alone for the season. So there's still plenty of different scenarios that we could see, but things will start to come into the picture clearer once we find out if Prema is in or out.
Is there another Honda team that you could see running an extra entry beyond, what we already expect out of, like, is it coin or bust? Like, I don't think Ganassi's running a fourth.
No, I mean, are you counting a fourth for Rahal?
Yeah, a fourth for Rahal and a fourth
Okay.
for Andretti. I mean, it's got to be coin or bust, right?
Yeah, I mean, Andretti, I guess with Herta's you're talking about,
Yeah.
fourth there.
Yeah.
No, Ganassi's not doing it. I don't see Dreyer and Reinbold going to a third.
Well, and because they're a Chevy team.
Well, sorry, yeah, that's true. Shank, no.
No.
They already have LEO in as an extra. So, yeah, I think it's coin or bust in terms of an additional car for an existing team. And then you look at maybe a lights team, like an Able or an HMD.
Is there a chance that, say, HMD or Able or whoever else don't run, like maybe run a technical partnership with a team, but they're technically their own entry? Could we see that and that push us to 35, 36 entries?
Maybe. I think that's a interesting proposal based on if Able and HMD are still targeting IndyCar to reach that series, right? I'm not sure where either one of those are. I'm not sure what the effects of Jacob Able going to sports cars has on Bill Abel's long-term picture for his team. Is it still intact? Is he going to start losing interest because his son's not around full time? I don't know. But if Able Motorsports is looking at saying we're targeting 2028 to be in the IndyCar series, at least maybe not even full time, but somewhat, then maybe an Indy only effort partnered with a team would make sense. Same thing with HMD. But I don't know what, and we haven't had any recent stories that I'm familiar with to maybe give us some insight. HMD, they've shrunk their stable. Is that a preparatory effort, move to prepare to move up with a two-car team potentially? Or is it just cutting costs? I have no idea. So those are the two teams, though, in Indy Lights that you would really look at and say those are the two to keep an eye on, not just for this year, but in the next couple years as well.
Yeah, I mean, if Prema goes under, I mean, you immediately come to, we talked Michael Andretti, Brian Herta, HMD moving up, Able moving up is another one I don't think we really
Don
discussed.
Cusick's,
yeah, Cusick Morgan.
What's he want to do? I mean, who are also in Lights.
Dreyer and Reinbold just, taking over, but again, they have the equipment, so like what good, and there's no charter here, so what good would that do?
Correct.
In terms of their expansion. So if we have the nuclear option, you look at, again, Prema losing out, so the teams that would fill those Chevy entries, we could have a third at Dreyer and Reinbold, we could have a third at Juncos, or a third at Foyt or a wild card new team entering in? Is there anyone else I'm forgetting here?
I don't think so. In terms of the usual suspects
Yes.
or the usual rumors, I mean, nothing that is coming out of left field. I mean, we've heard that. What's the team from NASCAR?
Oh, yes. Trackhouse?
Is it Trackhouse?
Yeah, I mean, they'll be interested eventually.
Eventually, but not anytime soon. So, yeah, I don't see anything materializing there for the near future.
How important is it for IndyCar? This talking a little bit about what we discussed last week with teams and team ownership, to not just say have a Brian Reinbold go back to full time, but say an HMD or an Abel or a Trackhouse or whoever else who's new to IndyCar, maybe not necessarily new to open wheel or new to racing, but new to IndyCar, come in to attract new team owners, because this seems to be a growing problem because of the charter system and things closed off. Are the charters affecting Indy 500 entries? I know we place all the blame on the engine manufacturers for only wanting to do up to 18 entries.
Right.
But have the charters also limited, because we're lucky to get past 34? I mean, when's the last year we actually saw more than 34 entries?
It's been a while, right?
Yes.
I am not based on actions with the charters and official, unofficial discussions behind the scenes, I'm not entirely confident that the IndyCar Series wants more owners. All indications are it's perfectly content with the stable of owners it has. It would almost be happy if one or two of those owners left or lowered their car count based on what we've heard about where IndyCar would like to be in terms of car count. Low 20s, 22, 23, even 24 cars full time. So while we as outsiders would like to see more team owners, even part-time, even Indy-only owners, you cannot convince me that the IndyCar brain trust has that as a priority. I'm not saying it's as elitist as Formula One in terms of not wanting anybody else at the table. And we saw what the hurdles that first Michael Andretti and then eventually Cadillac had to jump over to reach the series and make an 11th team. But it's going that direction, right? In terms of this is our club. It's an exclusive club. If you want to get in, you have to buy your way in, and you have to buy the tickets effectively of an outgoing owner. That's pretty much what it is at this point.
And the other thing is, so in 2027, it will be the lame duck year for the current chassis. Will we see a boost like we saw in 2011, the last lame duck year with a chassis where we saw 40 entries? I mean, based on only having 2 OEMs, my guess would be no.
No, gosh, that feels like 30 years ago, doesn't it? And 40 entries?
Yeah, right?
No, it's not the same.
The last time we had 35 entries, by the way, was 2021 when Charlie Kimball was too slow and R.C. Enerson with Top Gun Racing was also too slow.
So
we had a couple years in there, 22 and 23, that only had 33.
Yes, we've at least had 34 the last 2 years. Give us some semblance of a bump.
2019 was the last time we had 36.
And so to me, I'm almost the opposite going into 2027 is everybody's like, oh, there's going to be all these extra chassis. It's like, yeah, but there's no extra engines. So again, unless first off, we hope that Chevy and Honda are around for 2027.
Yes.
First of all, but even if they are, I don't see either OEM all of a sudden saying, oh yeah, sure, we'll do 20 engine leases. I still think the max next year is 36. So there may be all these chassis laying around, but I don't think they have engines for them. So that's the thing. I just don't see. I'd like to think there's added participation for the final year of a chassis next year, but I don't think it's going to be because those chassis need engines.
And that's the ultimate reality of this is if, that's an issue, which this 18 cap has been in place for quite some time, and we've only hit 36 one time ever in this current era, and that was 2019, right? We've hit 35 several times. Like, I'm looking back, and I can't think of a time where we had more than 36, 2012 to present.
Definitely not. That's always the number we hope for year after year, and unfortunately, we rarely get there. And
most years during this era, we've been right at 33. And that's with, the 100th running in 2016. That's with kind of things on an upward trend leading up to that, and then definitely after compared to, prior years excluding 2016. So we've just been kind of stuck at this number, and having, Buddy Lazier, for example, in 2015 failing to qualify. Can we get more than 34? Let alone 36 would be incredible, but that's just kind of where we're at right now, which is, I guess, frustrating when you're coming to the end of the life of this current chassis, which, to be fair, its end of life was a few years ago in reality, but here we still are.
I just think you're going to see a lot of those extra chassis just retired and become show cars, as opposed to selling to maybe Indy-only teams for a 2027 run, things like that, because there's no engines for any of these entries. There's not enough. I don't think Chevy and Honda even want to go to 18 each year after year, maybe a year here, year there, but I just don't see it. And if and when they commit to 2027 and beyond, and they find out what the engine formula is for 2028 and beyond, they're thinking, hey, we don't have time to mess around with these engine leases. Like, you're getting 16, 17. We're not messing around with 18, blah, blah, blah. We're focused on 2028 and beyond. And I think that's another factor that could bite IndyCar in terms of Indy 500 car count for 2027, despite the wealth of chassis that will probably be available.
Yeah. And I guess it shows how important a third OEM is in terms of boosting Indy 500 car count. Because instead of 18 and 18, you could be looking at 13, 13, and 13.
At the very least, 12, 12, 12.
Yes.
To get to 36.
Correct.
So, yes, it would be nice to get to a third, but we still need to hold on to the existing two.
Yes,
as well.
For sure. All right, if you agree or disagree, in fact, final call. Over under 34 and a half entries. What say you?
I'm taking the under. I'm taking 34 right now.
Okay, I'm gonna take the over. I gotta be
the eternal optimist.
The optimist. Here. Let's see 35. Let's make it happen. All right. If you agree or disagree with us, we'd love for you to interact with us. You can always find us on social media. IndyCar Podcast is the handle on Instagram, also on Twitter /X. On Facebook, just search for New Track Record. You can also email us your questions, comments, rants, or concerns, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com. Support us via Patreon, patreon.com/newtrackrecord. Thanks to Reed and others for their support. And as always, download and listen on your favorite podcasting platform, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. Short mailbag this week. Not a lot going on in between episodes, but we did have a couple interesting things. First, we had AJ Foyt celebrating his 91st birthday, and you posed the question, where would you rank AJ Foyt? And, to me, I would say he's 1A, to Mario being 1B. And listeners weighing in, Jeff Sterneski said, there's AJ Foyt and there's everyone else. Well said. Lynn_IndyCar. Since your post mentioned open wheel racing instead of IndyCar specific, my top three are Mario, F1 Champion 2, AJ Foyt, Scott Dixon. I think Alex Blow will be the greatest of all time when he retires. We'll see. Gallic37 said second behind Mario. Run_Mark_Run said, how many Freedom 100s did he win? That's
it's
great.
The Eliminator. He did not win any, so he's out.
Tommy the Trito 1 said, certainly the GOAT of American open wheel racing, and he won at Le Mans, Daytona 500, and 24 Hours, and Sebring 2, one of the greatest drivers ever. Tyler Wong 65 said, first all time ahead of Mario Andretti, Al Unser, as well as Scott Dixon. Isn't it interesting that And I know it's part of it. We're in this era, but a lot of us would say, Mario. We would say Dixon. We'd say AJ, and then it's that other one that's up for interpretation, right? And some eras would maybe say Michael Andretti. Some would say Alan Sir Sr. Some would say Rick Mears. Who am I missing on the short list? I feel like that kind of covers. You could throw in Dario Franchitti, Sebastian Bourdais, Elio, those drivers as well. But it's always
like three automatics.
Three are automatic.
Then a bonus. Then a
and
random.
it depends on the era. You're like for us, obviously, Scott Dixon's automatic on that Mount Rushmore.
Right.
But the third one is the one that's up for debate. I mean, I think I would have to go with Alan Sir Sr. because of 4 Indy 500 wins.
Sure.
Let alone everything else he accomplished beyond that.
It's very interesting. AJ's my number one.
Yeah, I would put AJ 1A, Mario 1B. And then there's everyone else.
Right. And I'm sure there's some bias in there for me with AJ. I grew up in a family with a lot of AJ fans that it just kind of sticks with you, and it's nothing against Mario. It's just, you kind of grow up around it.
Mm-hmm.
And then reading, books and all that stuff. And AJ is such a big part of it. I just finished, Black Noon again, and he's a big part of that, obviously. And it's just those things that he dealt with, and just AJ is my number one.
All right, this from Tommy the Tree 01. So screenshot of this, but this was on IndyCar.com, leaked the second coin driver, then took it down.
Whoop.
They have this. In 2026, Dale Coyne Racing will enter a technical partnership with Andretti Global, fielding the number 18 entry for Dennis Hauger and the number 19 for Romain Grosjean. Grosjean returns to the team after his first stint in 2021 when he earned 3 podiums and 1 pole in his rookie season. Go on to talk about Dale Coyne Racing as a whole. So, I mean, I would expect that. However, in a recent interview with Marshall Pruitt, in other interviews, I think on Sports Car 365, he was looking to go in the LMDH route. So, who knows? But this was from January 16th that it was up on the site and then taken down. So, again, all signs continue to point to Grosjean as the second coin car. We just don't have confirmation yet.
Well, and I think not only his plans or the car's plans not being announced, but Romain Grosjean's plans not being announced, right? If Grosjean came out all of a sudden and said he was doing this for 2026 and it conflicted with IndyCar, then you're like, okay, well, we can eliminate him. Well, that hasn't happened, so it's difficult to look anywhere else other than Grosjean at this point, especially considering the heavier and heavier smoke that has come out involving that 51 seat and Romain being really, really attached to it at this point.
All right. The first Fox Sports IndyCar ad out for 2026. Promo featuring Joseph Newgarden at his house, backyard barbecue, cookout, whatever you want to call it.
Didn't get invited?
No,
again?
Not invited. And it shows him putting meat on the grill barehanded, essentially ripping Pato O'Ward's heart out on TV. Kind of a dark Joseph vibe. The more I watch it, though, the more I do like it. It's not as incredible as last year's one with the Tom Brady cut in with that, but it's very well done, and they have good clips. They kind of go back and forth with Joseph and Pato with that, and the grill scene with the expiration date 5/26/24, which is apparently one of several Easter eggs that will be throughout these ads. So look for clues on the other ads as well. But I don't know, what were your thoughts?
I very much enjoyed it the more I watched it, similar to you. My one thing is we've always talked about the marketing of IndyCar and who it's directed at and trying to get new eyes, right? There's so many. If I watch that, if I watch that commercial as a casual IndyCar fan or a racing fan or even somebody that's never watched IndyCar, I don't understand it. Because talking about ripping somebody's heart out on national television and showing flashes of Pato O'Ward, I don't know what that means. I overall, I don't know if it's a commercial that's going to sell you to people that aren't already watching IndyCar. And if it's not supposed to do that, then that's fine. So to me, I really enjoyed it, more I watched it, I just started thinking, like, if I'm not familiar with IndyCar, what does this commercial do to make me want to watch it? And I had a very hard time answering that. I think it's a great commercial to target diehards, but we're already watching, right? So what does having a beating heart in your hand, and we understand what he did, of course, to Pato Award in 2020. We understand what the date means, blah, blah, blah. But what did that commercial do to capture the regular people, bigger audience? And that's where I push back and say I don't think it achieved that, but maybe it wasn't supposed to.
I would say it makes the viewer curious of like, wait, what? Like, and then it causes them to look into.
Does it?
I guess so, but can you get to where you want to go to find that info if you don't know anything about racing beyond
right? I guess
Joseph
you
Newgarden.
search Joseph Newgarden. And
I guess you would get there eventually.
I guess, but is that you know, people are inherently lazy. You know, how many people are really going to see that commercial and go, I'm going to pick up my phone and search this and go to this and go to this? Not very many people.
To be fair, the promo with Newgarden last year had a lot of references, and outside of the Tom Brady one, the average sports fan who's not into IndyCar wouldn't have a clue. You know, that My Kid Hated It with Alex Palou talking about the book was incredible, but Joe Schmo watching the football game wouldn't understand that reference either.
Yeah, very true. Tom Brady always helps to have him in the commercial, though, for sure. Look, I very much appreciated it. It was different than what we saw last year coming out the gate, right?
And the other thing is they're continuing to focus on the drivers. Correct. And making them personalities and not necessarily, the close racing and all that stuff. Like, you got to build personalities. That's how you sell your product. And Fox has done a good job of that. And they picked the right people. I mean, you could swap out one or two, but I think the key players are Newgarden, despite struggling last year, Pato, Palou, and then adding in Will Power with, leaving Penske and kind of that beef. I think that will be good for the promos as well.
Do you think it's because the tagline's back again, faster racing on Earth, would it help the product if they explained in Fox fashion, which is very good marketing, what it means to be the fastest racing on Earth, why it's the fastest racing on Earth? Breaking down, and obviously you got to do it in 30 to 45 seconds, but why is this the fastest racing on Earth? I mean, you mentioned about going 240 into corners at Indianapolis and this, that, or the other. I mean, do you feel like IndyCar and Fox need to take that next step into, okay, now it's year 2 of fastest racing on Earth. Now let's maybe explain that a little bit, or am I overthinking it?
I think it would be additive with throwing that in, the 240 into turn 1 or whatever. Throwing, a crash with X amount of G's type thing. I mean, I hate to sensationalize crashes. You get 2 into, yes. And they did show a Newgarden crash, but it was, when he came back after the clavicle break or whatever at Texas, which, I mean, it makes sense in the context what they did with that. You don't want to lean too heavy on crashes because fans hate that, and rightfully so. But I do think there's an element of looking at the, this, put the speeds out there.
Because I do think that, and maybe this was a byproduct of the big number that St. Pete got, and then the drop is you are hyping up the fastest racing on Earth, and then you start the season at a street course where, at least with your eyes, they're not going very fast.
Fair.
I don't think that was adequately tackled by, and probably internally it was, but outwardly is why it was the audience was effectively cut in half from race 1 to race 2 last year.
I would say it had more to do with the fact that you were not in a good time slot and a race that
with race
brand
2,
new, that had no draw. But a lot of comments on the commercial. Let's dive into those. Poet Shevchenko said, "Clever way of expressing a similar theme to the previous Newgarden ad. the idea that there is a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with drivers when they are in and out of the car is interesting. And K. Harden said, great ad. Nichardson Roa said, it looks like we're in for another great round of ads. Lynn _IndyCar said, was that IndyCar ad or an ad for a new Dexter show starring Joseph Newgarden? A little bit on the creepy side. Yeah, I could see that.
I think that was both of our real.
It was first, Dark Joseph.
Yeah, for our first initial thoughts was, well, that's kind of. I mean, it wasn't blocked, but it was hidden on Twitter for graphic content.
Yes,
you actually had to approve you wanted to watch it before you could watch it, which for some is going to pull you in even more.
Yes. And then Tyler Wong 65 said, fantastic commercial promoting 2 IndyCar superstars at once. Good way to promote more drivers as the season gets closer. And then the actual promo read before the ad aired on Fox during the NFL playoffs. Unfortunately, the game was a blowout between the 49ers and Seahawks, but you had Tom Brady talking about his IndyCar 2-seater ride with Jimmy Johnson. Very complimentary of that. Basically said it was insane. That's good. Now, if we could just get Kevin Burkhardt to know how to say Pato Award, not Pado Award,
yeah,
that would help.
Kind of think he'd do his research a little bit, I guess.
You think the copy had a pronunciation.
Yeah, right, that's for sure. I mean, maybe it's not on him. It's actually, let's give this guy a pronunciation guide. He's only marketing and promoting stuff that's on Fox.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that was butchered, but maybe he didn't have that copy ahead of time. Stuff like that happens. So,
or he had it and he kept saying it to himself, and then
still screwed
live.
It up.
He's like, "Oh crap!" I mean, there's still people that have different names for Alex Palou in the series.
Yes.
So
I mean, there are people that still call it the IRL. To be fair,
I mean, Roger Penske did for years.
Yes. All right, that's
running
a look.
The series, people. He still called it the arrow.
That's a look at the mailbag. Time for news and notes, and we start with the open test for IndyCar, February 17th and 18th. It will be known as the Unser IndyCar Open Test at Phoenix Raceway. Kind of a cool tribute there. The logo looks incredible.
Very much
this.
so.
Great graphic design work. Still no word if this test will be streamed. And the racer mailbag, Marshall said, it sounds like it will be open to the public, but in terms of at the track. But either way, that is good. I thought that was a nice touch and a good way to promote it. Let's just hope we get to see some of it on the stream.
Let's hope so. I don't know with the, it sounds easy, but there's a lot of effort that goes into streaming those. I mean, even just camera angles, right, is difficult. So we'll see. I'm just glad that IndyCar is returning to Phoenix, and hopefully they can put on a good show.
For sure. I went to one of those Phoenix races. It was not a good show. No, that was before they redid the track, so I don't know if that makes it better or worse. All right. IndyCar drivers competing in the Rolex 24 this weekend at Daytona. We'll have Scott Dixon with Meyer Shank Racing. Also, Alex Palou with the same team, obviously due to the partnership between Ganassi and Meyer Shank. Christian Rasmussen will be in LMP2 for AO Racing. Nolan Siegel as well with Inter Europol competition, and Kevin Simpson with Tower Motorsports in the same classification. And GTD Pro, Kyle Kirkwood with Vassar Sullivan, so he's back with him. Will Power, his first ever Rolex 24 this weekend. He will be racing for 75 Express. In GTD, Marcus Ericsson with Wayne Taylor Racing, Callum Ilott with Wright Motorsports, which again he has a season-long ride with them, and then Scott McLaughlin with DXDT Racing as well. Plus, you throw in, I believe there's 3 lights drivers competing as well in different classes, so pretty full lineup. Other driver news, Hailie Deegan has officially got a ride in the ARCA Menards Series West for next year. Remember, she was in lights last year. Didn't quite work out, but good to see she got a ride.
More in her comfort zone, for sure. Back in stock cars.
Dennis Hauger, who Deegan competed against in lights, he's now going to be in IndyCar in 2026. He'll also be one of 10 drivers taking part in the rookie free practice section at next week's Miami E-Prix Of note, Chloe Chambers will also be taking part in that session. She was with F1 Academy this past year. Other driver and team news. So with Ed Carpenter Racing, so they made some changes. Derek Davidson is the team manager. Matt Barnes, now vice president of competition. Quinton Montegod is promoted to race engineer for Alexander Rossi. Pete Craik will be back with Christian Rasmussen as the race engineer for him. Robert Gu, formerly with Prema, is now added as senior development engineer. And Chase Campbell hired as the full-time strength and conditioning coach. So several changes for ECR. And speaking of Prema, another name left
Prema
the team. I'm not even going to say this correctly, but Guilherme Capieto, technical director since 2015, resigned from the Italian team this week. So not a good sign.
No, as more and more people exit, it's more and more cloudy and uncertain for Prema's future, which, as you and I stated last week, we just don't see a future for Prema. But we'll see. We'll find out in the next couple weeks for sure.
And I forgot this from the mailbag. Ferrari_podcast talking about Prema said, "So sad. I really love Prema. It's a heartbreaking story. On another note, if teams are continually leaving IndyCar while WEC and F1 become more popular, more teams joining, shouldn't IndyCar really look inward and find out how to make the sport more appealing? Also, IndyCar has no leg to stand on at making the sport exclusive. I love IndyCar, but F1 actually has the credibility to close their doors if they wanted to, or at least it wouldn't hurt them." Yeah, and that's kind of what we were talking about with the team thing as a whole.
Well, Formula One's in a position where they can be elitist and they can close the door to others and have those others just banging on the door to get in, whether it's teams, whether it's investors, whether it is engine manufacturers, whether it is car company, whatever it is. IndyCar doesn't have that. They've effectively closed the door, and occasionally they'll just get a light tap on the door, or a slight knock. It's not like everybody is trying to get into this series, and that's a thing. I think IndyCar is trying to create something that's not there, and maybe by increasing demand you can do that. But how do you increase demand and popularity? Is it by effectively shutting the doors? IndyCar's hoping so. We'll see.
We shall see. Other notes from Prema. So this is maybe the flip side opinion. This from Sportscar 365. Hat tip to Matt Hickey for finding this. Prema is expected to continue in IndyCar despite speculation over the team's future amidst financial troubles for parent company DC Racing Solutions. So
we will see.
We shall see. Other driver and team notes. Scott McLaughlin will have a new engineer. Raul Prados will be his engineer as Ben Bretzman got bumped up in the hierarchy at Team Penske. And in Indy Lights, they had their test. HMD leading the test. Enzo Fittipaldi leads the way. So that's another name to watch to potentially move up to IndyCar for 2027. And a former IndyCar driver, Simona Di Silvestro.
Hey.
She has qualified for the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympic Games coming up in a couple of weeks. She will compete in the women's monobob and two-women bobsleigh. She is qualified, I assume, for Switzerland. Is that correct?
Yes, for Switzerland. So monobob, I didn't realize this was a thing, is just one person.
That's new,
bobsled.
Right?
Yes, it is one of. Well, no, it was new in Beijing, but this will be the first time.
I always forget that Beijing hosted the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Well, who has the most money that they can just throw at the IOC? But it wasn't for medals at Beijing. Now it will be for medals, apparently. So one interesting thing, it is using identical sleds for both males and females to level the playing field. Apparently. So anyway, so monobob and two-woman bobsled. I'm looking forward to that because the Swiss are usually good in bobsled.
Yes, they are.
So it's not like Simona.
The Swiss and the Germans.
Yes, it's not like Simona will be off screen. I watch a lot of Winter Olympics, and I'm looking forward to this because this can bridge the gap to the start of the IndyCar season. Is hopefully we'll see some Simona on the bobsled coverage.
Yes, for sure. I think we will. Also, so I mentioned Germany and some metrics shared by Jay Fry about the announcement for Mick Schumacher coming. And they had 8,000 plus total mentions in terms of media value and exposure. Total reach, 4 billion with a B, plus. And that was 119 countries included in that 4 billion plus. So I thought that was pretty incredible. Obviously a big deal for that team. Also a big deal, Coca-Cola back with a multi-year partnership with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and Indy 500. They will sponsor IMS in the community. Also the Indy 500 red carpet with Coca-Cola Consolidated, which is going to be the official soft beverage water sponsor of IMS moving forward. I also wonder, and only I care about these stupid things, but the Coke lot, which is really lot 1B as it stands now at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And if you're unfamiliar, it's got a lot of camping and it also has parking. Now, what is different is, so it's mostly grass, but there was a section that wasn't used because you had lot 1A and I believe 1B in there. And then you had lot 1C, which was not used for several years since, I want to say, since Penske switched it to Pepsi.
Okay.
But I do wonder if that means because, I mean, the Coke lot literally is because the land is owned by the Coca-Cola distributor there on the scene. That's why it's called that. But I do wonder if that will change and we'll see more of those spots opened up. Now, they did use some, but it seemed like there was empty space. Last year did fill up a little bit more, but I wonder if that change will kind of change the parking situation as well and add in more space. We shall see.
I was hoping for Fago, but they did not bring enough money to the table.
No, I'm sure not. Dr. Thunder? Isn't that like Meyer?
Fago Red Pop, man. You cannot.
Verner's?
Verner's. RC Cola.
Yes. Also, speaking of IMS, the Race Media Awards Creative Content of the Year winner was the Oscar Mayer Weenie 500 in Indianapolis Motor Speedway. No surprise, that was a must-see event.
You think we get that again? 2026?
I hope so, but I don't know. And then there's an IMS auction. If you go to Earl's Auction, Earl like the name, EARLS auction.com, the IMS online auction runs through Friday, January 30th, 4 p.m. Eastern, and it's already underway. So you can look at, in fact, they changed this back a weekend because of the weather. So that actually helps you on bidding for lots and lots of different items available, including signs, tires, flags, all kinds of stuff.
Random stuff. Get on there and check it out.
A Red Bull flag, for example, an IMS flag, an ECR magnet. A lot of these items don't even have a bid on, so make sure you check the list. But Doug Bowles posted that on his social media, again, earlsauction.com, where you can get all that info. And we did talk about AJ Foyt celebrating his 91st birthday, and Santino Ferrucci won a Chili Bowl heat race last weekend and dedicated it to SuperTech, so that was cool. And also, as Courtney points out to us, listener Courtney, IndyCar was promoted on Flow Racing during the Chili Bowl Nationals. There's a worldwide technology, aka Gateway sign. There's a banner inside there. IndyCar June 6th through 7th, so that was cool as well. A couple other quick items. Looks like the entire IndyCar on Fox on-air team will be back. And Jamie Little posted a photo saying she's part-time again, but it's the same players that we saw last year. And we talk a lot about the impact of having a good lead-in.
Yeah.
This is going to be mind-blowing. This from Austin Karp, who covers sports business, sports media. The latest property to take full advantage of getting an NFL lead-in, Formula E. CBS's telecast around the Mexico City race aired right after the Bills-Jags wildcard last Sunday. Averaged 3.28 million viewers, which is the best audience on record for Formula E in the U.S.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah. So just imagine what the World Cup final could do for IndyCar if there's not, a 1 hour post game or post match show.
Post match.
Yeah, because that would kind of kill that number. All right, and then one other note, sad news, Ricardo Arturo Juncos passed away. I believe this was Ricardo's father, but they shared that earlier this week. Tweets of the week time, and we have two. First one from Pato Award himself, replying to the ad, he said, "I almost forgot," about the Joseph Newgarden ad.
Almost.
Nice reminder. And then from Indy 44, looking at every Penske attenuator in May, and it's a GIF of IU football coach Kurt Signetti, eyebrows raised, looking side to side.
We've seen that the last couple days, a bunch of memes. But yes, there'll be a lot of eyes on those attenuators.
Yes.
This May.
And with that, anything that we missed?
No, just another successful week of making it through the off season. One week closer, folks.
That's right. All right, closer. Time now for our random split error driver of the week.
We're going back to the inaugural season of the Indy Racing League, which was, of course, 1996. And going, people always say, well, IndyCar needs to do a better job we talked about the Chili Bowl a little bit earlier, right? In terms of getting those guys from USAC to get into lights and IndyCar. Well, in 1996, it was Randy Tolsma who got into go-karts at age 9, moved into sprint cars, ran in USAC, and attempted to make the 1996 Indianapolis 500 with Zune Group Racing.
What?
Zune Group Racing.
You're
now,
just making up names and driver names, team names.
This is all fake news.
Yeah.
All fake news. But Randy Tolsma tried to make the 1996 Indianapolis 500. He did not qualify. That was his one and only attempt at racing an open wheel race, either IRL, kart, champ car, whatever. He then went into the NASCAR side, particularly in NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and did a lot of races from 1996 through 2002. He did several races in 2001 in the then Busch Series. It was a struggle for Randy Tolsma to find sponsorship. He was with some underfunded teams, etc., and that was no doubt the issue as well with Zune Group Racing, who I believe was part of Lynn St. James's efforts.
Yeah, so Lynn St. James was Randy's teammate for the Indy 500 that year.
That's right. Okay.
Robbie Buell did race 2 on the schedule. And then, so yeah. So you have two teammates that are named people with Randy Tolsma.
Good old Randy Tolsma.
Only teamed up at the same race weekend with Lynn St. James.
Correct. So interestingly enough, the 1996 Indianapolis 500 Zune Group Racing had a locked-in entry for that Indianapolis 500 1996, but it was eventually acquired by another team, Lee Miller Racing. So Lee Miller Racing apparently bought the locked-in entry. Apparently, McCormack Racing or McCormack Motorsports eventually bought out the Zune Group, and it was pretty much gone by the late 1990s. But in year one of the IRL, it was a big part of the field. Randy Tolsma, not so much. One and done. Did not qualify for the 1996 Indianapolis 500. Now, for those wondering, how many people did we have attempting to make that Indianapolis 500?
I'm going to go with 56.
Oh my goodness. Now I got to find it. Let's see. I'm going through here. 1996 Indianapolis 500. We had. Come on, where's the list? Where's my list of entries? This is terrible.
I'm pulling it up here. Hang on.
That's a race.
Yeah, the 25-8 rule, the locked-in entries.
Oh, here I'm not even on the. Let's do Indianapolis 500. Oh yeah, the 25 and 8. That was popular.
Very.
Very popular.
We actually only had, so Scott Brayton obviously unfortunately died in a practice crash. Danny Angaius, substitute driver, moved to the rear field. Billy Boat was bumped. Tice Carlson too slow. So we actually, really when you look at it, and they started 32.
Well, they started 33 because Danny Ungaius got the nod, as we talked about.
Okay, that's right.
A couple months ago.
So, I mean, I guess you would say there are 35, 36.
Yes.
I mean, it really depends on the way
There
you
were
want to look at
36
it.
counting Scott Brayton.
Yeah.
So they got to 36 in 1996. Can we get to 36 in 2026? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for the greatest spectacle in racing.
For the greatest spectacle in racing.
We shall see. All right. For Justin Kinney, I am Caleb Hatch. We'll be back next week with the latest and greatest in IndyCar news. Thanks for joining us on another edition of New Track Record Podcast.